Chameleons are famous for one thing: they change color to hide from predators. It's in nature documentaries, kids' books, and school textbooks everywhere. But that idea is mostly wrong. Scientists studying chameleons in the wild found something surprising. The color change has very little to do with hiding. So what is it actually for? Chameleons live a risky life. They move slowly. They can't outrun most predators. Birds, snakes, and other animals hunt them regularly. So it makes sense that people assumed color change evolved as a defense, a way to disappear into leaves or bark. But there's a problem with that idea. If you watch a chameleon closely, its most dramatic color changes don't happen when a predator shows up. They happen when another chameleon walks by. That raises a bigger question. If color change isn't mainly for hiding, then what is it solving? Chameleons face other serious challenges too. They are cold-blooded, so their body temperature depends entirely on their surroundings. They also need to communicate with other chameleons, without making any sound, since most species don't have great hearing and rely heavily on sight instead. So researchers had to ask, is chameleon skin doing something more complicated than simple camouflage? To answer that, they needed to understand what was physically happening inside chameleon skin, down to the cellular level. Chameleon skin isn't like human skin with pigments sitting in one layer. It has multiple layers of specialized cells, and each layer plays a different role. The bottom layers contain pigment cells. These hold natural colors like yellow and red, similar to pigment in many other animals. This is part of the story, but not the most surprising part. The real discovery came from a layer above the pigment cells, called the iridophore layer. Scientists studying panther chameleons found that these cells contain tiny crystals arranged in a structured pattern, almost like a tiny grid. These crystals don't create color the way pigment does. Instead, they reflect certain wavelengths of light based on how far apart they are spaced. Here's the key part. A chameleon can actually change the spacing between these crystals by relaxing or tightening its skin. When the crystals sit close together, they reflect shorter wavelengths of light, like blue and green. When the chameleon relaxes and the crystals spread further apart, they reflect longer wavelengths, like yellow, orange, and red. This means a chameleon isn't just moving pigment around like a mixing palette. It's physically adjusting a microscopic structure in its skin to bend light in a different way. This process is called structural color, and it's the same basic idea that makes a soap bubble or a butterfly wing shift color depending on the angle you view it from. So why would a chameleon want this ability? Mostly, to communicate. When two male chameleons meet, they often display bright, intense colors. This isn't decoration. It's a message. Brighter, faster color changes usually signal aggression or dominance. A chameleon that can shift color quickly and vividly is often sending a warning to a rival: back off or get ready for a fight. Color also plays a big role in finding a mate. Males often display strong colors and patterns to attract females, and in some species, females briefly change color to signal whether they are interested or not. Temperature control matters too. Because chameleons can't regulate body heat internally, some species turn darker to absorb more heat when they are cold, and lighter to reflect heat when they are too warm. This isn't about hiding. It's about survival in a very literal, physical sense. So where does camouflage fit into all of this? It still plays a role, just a smaller one than people assume. Most chameleons already have a baseline color suited to their environment, thanks to regular pigment, not the dramatic structural color changes. A forest-dwelling chameleon tends to stay greenish. A desert species tends to stay pale and sandy. This baseline blending happens gradually, through evolution, not through fast, active color shifting. The fast, dramatic color changes people notice and associate with camouflage are almost always doing something else, sending a signal to another chameleon or managing body temperature. One well-known study focused on dwarf chameleons in South Africa. Researchers found that different chameleon populations changed color at different speeds and intensities, and those differences lined up closely with how visible their signals needed to be against their local backgrounds, not with how well they needed to hide from predators. In other words, chameleons in areas with more visual competition from rivals developed faster, more noticeable color changes, specifically to be seen clearly by other chameleons. Another major discovery came from researchers studying panther chameleons, who use specialized imaging to look directly at the crystal structure inside chameleon skin. This is where scientists confirmed the mechanism of shifting crystal spacing, showing for the first time exactly how a chameleon controls its color at a physical, structural level, rather than just chemically through pigment. These findings reshaped how scientists think about the entire chameleon family. What looked like a single simple trick, blending into the background, turned out to be a far more advanced communication system, built on physics most people never think about when they picture a lizard. So the next time you see a chameleon change color, don't think of it as hiding. Think of it as talking. That shifting color on its skin might be a warning to a rival, an invitation to a mate, or simply a way to warm up in the sun. The next time someone tells you chameleons change color to blend in, you'll know the real story, one written in crystals, light, and a language of color most of us never noticed.